Hey friends, and welcome back to English Podcast for Listening and Speaking. It's so lovely to have you join me again as we settle into a quiet space together, just for a little while. Here, we don't just learn English, we explore it gently through stories, reflections, and thoughts that hopefully resonate with your own daily life. It's a calm journey, one step at a time, making the language feel more like a friend than a challenge. My hope is always that these moments bring you a sense of peace and a little more confidence in your English journey. If this episode helps you, if it brings a quiet smile or a new understanding, I'd love if you liked, subscribed, or left a kind comment. It truly means a lot, and it helps our little community grow. But please, no pressure at all. Your presence here is more than enough. Now, get comfortable, maybe pour some tea, and let's begin. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you had something important to say? Something that truly mattered to you, but the words, they just wouldn't quite come out the way you wanted them to? It's a feeling I know well. It's a little knot in your stomach, a whisper of frustration, as you search for just the right phrase, the perfect tone, to convey exactly what's in your heart or in your mind. For me, this feeling often surfaced when I first started navigating the world of business discussions in English. It felt like a different language entirely, even though it was still English. There was a unique dance to it, a rhythm of politeness, directness, and collaboration that I slowly had to learn. I remember one time, early in my career, sitting in a meeting, listening to everyone speak so fluently, so confidently about project timelines and budget projections. I had an idea, a really good one, I thought, that could genuinely help. But the words felt trapped. I worried about sounding too direct, or perhaps not direct enough. I feared I might use the wrong phrase and accidentally offend someone, or worse, be completely misunderstood. It wasn't just about vocabulary. It was about the subtle art of suggestion, of polite disagreement, of offering a solution without sounding like I was criticizing. It was about finding my voice in a space that felt very formal, and at times a little intimidating. I remember practicing phrases in my head over and over, sometimes even whispering them to myself in the quiet of my apartment late at night, just to feel the shape of the words on my tongue. There's something so deeply human about wanting to be understood, especially when the stakes feel high, like in a business setting. It's not just about tasks and strategies. It's about connecting with people, building trust, and working together towards a shared goal. And when you finally find those words, when you express an idea clearly and see someone's face light up with understanding, or when your suggestion leads to a breakthrough, that feeling is incredibly rewarding. It's a moment of connection, of shared purpose, and it really solidifies the idea that communication is so much more than just exchanging information. It's about building bridges. I recall a specific meeting where we were discussing a new office layout. Everyone had strong opinions, and the conversation was becoming a bit tense. I wanted to suggest a compromise, something about creating quiet zones for focus, but I wasn't sure how to phrase it without sounding critical of the current noisy environment. I took a deep breath, remembered some phrases I'd been practicing, and said, "I have mixed feelings about the current setup, but perhaps we could consider, incorporating some dedicated quiet zones or sound booths to offer more diverse working spaces. It wasn't perfect, but it opened a door. The response was surprisingly positive. People started building on the idea, adding their thoughts, and suddenly the tension eased, replaced by collaborative problem solving. That moment, that small victory, taught me that business English isn't just about sounding smart. It's about sounding clear, empathetic, and constructive. It's about being able to express a concern professionally or to justify an investment in a way that resonates with others. It's about learning to navigate those nuanced conversations, discussing overspending without causing blame, or suggesting an improvement to the interview process respectfully. It's about understanding that every timeline, every deliverable, every metric we talk about is part of a larger human endeavor. And the way we communicate those things can either build walls or build bridges. It's about the quiet satisfaction of knowing you've contributed effectively, of having your ideas heard and valued. So, today, as we gently explore business discussion in English, we're not just going to learn words and phrases. We're going to step into the world where clear, kind, and effective communication can truly transform how we work, how we connect, and how we achieve our goals together. It's a journey into making those challenging conversations feel a little softer, a little clearer, and a lot more human. Let's explore how we can find comfort and confidence in expressing ourselves in this unique and important context. Now, let's gently turn our attention to some words and phrases that often appear in these business discussions. Sometimes, just knowing a few key terms can make a world of difference in how confident we feel and how clearly we understand what's being said around us. We'll go slowly, and I'll invite you to say these words quietly to yourself, just to feel them on your tongue. Our first word is deliverables. Think of this as the tangible things you promise to produce or complete for a project. It's what you deliver. For example, if you're working on a new marketing campaign, the deliverables might be a new website design, a series of social media posts, or perhaps a new brochure. These are the specific, measurable outcomes that you're expected to provide. Let's try saying it slowly together. Deliverables. Please, try it with me, deliverables. Next, we have an abbreviation you hear quite often, ROI. This stands for return on investment. It's simply about what you gain back from something you've put effort, time, or money into. When we talk about ROI, we're usually asking, was it worth it? What benefit did we get? For instance, a company might ask, what's the ROI of training our staff in new software? Will it make us more efficient, saving us money in the long run? Let's try saying those letters. ROI. Can you say it with me? ROI. Then there's a phrase that's so important for growth, constructive feedback. This is advice or criticism that is given with the intention of helping someone improve or do better. It's not about finding fault, but about offering pathways to growth. Imagine a manager saying, after your presentation, I have some constructive feedback about how you could make your next slides even clearer. It's a gift meant to build you up. Let's try this phrase. Constructive feedback. Say it softly after me. Constructive feedback. Our fourth phrase is due diligence. This one feels a little formal, but it's quite simple. It means the careful investigation or research you do before making a big decision, especially in business. It's like doing your homework thoroughly to understand all the potential risks and opportunities. For example, before we invest in that new company, we need to perform thorough due diligence to understand everything about it. Let's try saying it. Due diligence. Quietly, with me. Due diligence. Now, a word that describes something that might feel a little unfair or random. Arbitrary. If something is arbitrary, it means it's based on personal whim or random choice rather than on any reason or system. It might feel like there's no clear logic behind it. For example, the new rule about lunch breaks felt a little arbitrary because it didn't seem based on any logical need. It just was. Let's try saying this word. Arbitrary. Can you say it slowly? Arbitrary. And finally, a lovely descriptive phrase. Cross-pollination. This term comes from the world of plants, where pollen from one plant helps another grow. In business, it's a beautiful metaphor for when ideas or information are shared and exchanged between different groups or departments, leading to new, fresh insights and growth. It's about people from different areas sharing their perspectives and creating something new together. For example, our innovation workshop was designed to encourage cross-pollination between the engineering and marketing teams, hoping for fresh ideas to bloom. Let's try saying this phrase. Cross-pollination. One more time, softly. Cross-pollination. These words, when used with care, can truly open doors in your business conversations. They're not just jargon, they're tools for clear, gentle, and effective communication. Now that we've explored some key words, let's think about how we actually use them, especially when we want to be gentle and respectful in our business conversations. Sometimes, it's not just about what we say, but how we say it. There's a certain delicate dance to making suggestions or even expressing a different opinion, where politeness can truly smooth the way. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you had an idea, but you didn't want to sound too strong or bossy? Or maybe you felt a little differently about something, but you wanted to disagree kindly? This is where a few simple grammar patterns, especially using certain modal verbs, can become our quiet friends. Think of words like could or might or should. They have a beautiful way of softening our words, making them feel less like commands and more like invitations. Let's start with making suggestions. Instead of saying, do this, or we need to do that, which can feel a bit direct, we can use could or might to open up a possibility. It's like gently placing an idea on the table rather than pushing it forward. For example, instead of saying, we need to move the project timeline, which sounds very firm, you could softly say, we could consider adjusting the timeline if that helps with the deliverables. See how could makes it a suggestion, an option? It invites discussion. Another example might be if you have an idea for a new approach. You could say, I might suggest we explore different vendor options for this project. This acknowledges it's just one possibility, one thought among many, rather than a definitive statement. It leaves room for others to chime in, to agree, or to offer other ideas without anyone feeling challenged. It's about collaboration, not confrontation. Now, what about when we don't quite agree? Disagreement can feel tricky in any language, but especially in a professional setting. However, there are gentle ways to voice a different perspective without being dismissive or harsh. We often start by acknowledging the other person's point of view, even if we don't share it. Phrases like, I understand, but, or, that makes a good point, however, are wonderful starts. Then, we can use our modal verbs again to softly introduce our different view. For instance, if someone proposes a plan you're concerned about, instead of saying, that won't work, which can shut down conversation, you might say, I understand the intention, but I should mention that there might be some challenges with the current budget. Perhaps we could look at the cost per acquisition again. Here, should mention is a gentle warning, and could look is a collaborative suggestion for a solution. Another way is to frame it as a question or a reflection, rather than a direct contradiction. For example, if a remote work policy seems arbitrary, you could reflect, it seems arbitrary from this angle, but I see your point. Have we considered how this might impact team morale across different departments? This invites a deeper look, a wider perspective, rather than an outright rejection. It shows you're thinking, you're engaged, and you're seeking understanding, all while gently presenting a different angle. These aren't just grammar rules, they're tools for empathy in communication. They allow us to navigate complex discussions with grace, ensuring that our voice is heard, but also that we are open to truly hearing others. It's about building bridges, even when our ideas diverge. Now that we've gently explored how we can soften our words and make our suggestions with grace, it's time to truly feel these concepts in action. This is where the learning becomes personal, where the words start to feel natural on your tongue. We're going to try some real-life business sentences together, using both our new vocabulary and those beautiful, softening grammar patterns we just discussed. Remember, the goal isn't perfection, but connection. So, take a deep breath, relax your shoulders, and let's try saying these phrases out loud. I'll say them slowly, and I invite you to repeat them after me, at your own pace, letting the words truly settle. Let's start with a sentence that combines the idea of project timelines and deliverables, along with a gentle suggestion. I understand the current timeline, but we could explore adjusting it slightly to ensure all deliverables are perfectly met. Please try that slowly with me. I understand the current timeline, but we could explore adjusting it slightly to ensure all deliverables are perfectly met. Wonderful. Now, think about a time in your own work or even your daily life when you had to adjust a plan to make sure something important was finished well. What's one small change you could make to ensure a good outcome? Just think it in English or whisper it. Let's move to a situation involving budgets and measuring success, using phrases like justify the ROI and cost per acquisition. This can often be a sensitive area, so softness is key. While the campaign looks promising, we should thoroughly justify the ROI before we scale up. Have we considered the projected cost per acquisition for this next phase? Take a moment and repeat that with me. Wow, while the campaign looks promising, we should thoroughly justify the ROI before we scale up. Have we considered the projected cost per acquisition for this next phase? Very good. Imagine you're at a meeting and someone is very excited about a new idea, but you're a little worried about the money side. What's a gentle question you might ask to bring up the budget without sounding negative? Next, let's consider due diligence and market expansion. Using a diplomatic response, and a suggestion. This is about making sure we've done our homework before big decisions. You make a good point about entering this new market quickly, but I believe we should conduct extensive due diligence on potential local partners first. How about we dedicate a full day next week to that?
Let's try saying that together, slowly.
You make a good point about entering this new market quickly, but I believe we should conduct extensive due diligence on potential local partners first. How about we dedicate a full day next week to that? Excellent. Now for you, if you were planning something very important, something with big consequences, what kind of due diligence would you personally want to do just to feel sure? Finally, let's think about suggesting a pilot program for a new idea, combining a diplomatic opening with a gentle suggestion for testing something new, like a hybrid working model. I have mixed feelings about the full implementation of a hybrid working model across all teams immediately. Perhaps we could run a pilot program with a smaller group first to gather feedback? Let's practice that one, letting the words flow. I have mixed feelings about the full implementation of a hybrid working model across all teams immediately. Perhaps we could run a pilot program with a smaller group first to gather feedback? Wonderful. And for you, consider a new idea you've heard about recently, maybe for work or even in your personal life, like a new routine. How might you suggest trying it out, perhaps just for a short time, to see if it really works for you? Remember, language learning is a journey, and speaking out loud is a brave, beautiful step. Don't worry about perfection. The more you speak, the more natural these sounds and phrases will feel. If you enjoy writing, another gentle way to practice is through journaling. Try writing down these sentences or creating your own using the vocabulary and grammar from today. You can reflect on how you might use these phrases in your own conversations. What situations come to mind where these words could help you express yourself more clearly or more kindly? And so, we gently bring our time together to a close for today. Do you remember at the very beginning of our journey today when I spoke about the quiet challenge of finding your voice in business English and how sometimes those words can feel just a little bit out of reach? Well, I hope that today, by exploring how to soften our words and make diplomatic responses, we've taken a gentle step towards making those conversations feel a little less challenging, a little more natural. It's truly about finding that sense of ease, that peaceful rhythm in your communication. It's about building a better connection. It fills my heart to think that these moments spent together might help you feel a bit more confident, a bit more at home in the world of English. Remember, every time you try a new phrase, every time you soften a suggestion, you are building a beautiful bridge. Thank you so much for spending this quiet time with me, for opening your mind and your heart to these gentle lessons. If this episode helped you feel even a tiny bit more confident in English today, I would be so grateful if you shared it with someone else who is also on their learning journey. Your kindness truly helps this quiet space grow. Until next time, take care of yourself and keep learning gently.